Hello everyone, this presentation explains the most important things you should know before starting a past life regression with me, Pavlina Nikolova. It is also information I provide in person to every client with whom I work. It will help you to be calm and relaxed about the process. It will answer many of your doubts and feed the inquiries of the logical mind. This video provides explanations and understanding in depth of the process, how it works, why it works, how to check if it's working for us and helping our own life. First, during past life regression, person is in a relaxed state of mind and body, fully aware of the process and able to derive conclusions, to see connections between current life issues and information spirit guides show. That is the correct state, not hypnosis. Hypnosis is not done since decades. Why hypnosis is not needed and avoided by specialists, you may research and read the German psychiatrist Thorvald Detlefsen. Also, we can't say regression is like a deep meditation, because I will be talking to you and my voice won't let you relax so deep. That is our main idea. We don't want you to disconnect from my voice, because you will drift away and stop remembering or answering to my questions. We need you to stay on the edge of sleep. Don't worry, you may fall asleep. I will notice you're not answering and raise tone of my voice, and this will bring you out of those deeper levels so we can continue with our work. During regression, person is more like in mediumistic state, being like a medium who receives information from personal spirit guide who is in charge of the process. To be able to gain his or her help and support, we need to be very serious and act with respect for this whole process. Second, in beginning of our work, when you come here in person or you have online session with me, we start with talk about your life and you're describing all issues, questions, difficulties, problems and relationships you're searching advice for with this regression. It is very important to be honest and open during this talk. It acts very good to relax you and remove any barriers you may have. Also helps the mind to tune in into the process we are about to start and allow removal of blockages, fear, doubts. Remember, you can ask about anyone in your life and their relation to you from past lives. Parents, ex-partners, current partners, children, friends or enemies, if you have such. I will get familiar with all that interests you during our talk and write down questions I will use later when we start regression to ask your spirit guide for advices. 3. If we do session online, you will need to prepare a comfortable place near your laptop or computer desk. Get a blanket just in case you feel cold and one piece of cloth to cover your eyes to prevent light disturbing you. You may use your phone as well. There are different applications we can use to talk and do the session. 4. Induction into a past life. Process of induction is very easy and short. We start with few images from your daily life, objects, animals, plants with different colors. It is very quick exercise. You need to pass through each image for 1-2 seconds. No need to stay there long. Just imagine it in your mind. I may use word imagine, but actually we all have seen such objects and animals, so it will be in fact a memory that is already in your mind database. Our goal here is to activate this part of the brain corresponding to memory. Important is to emphasize that a regression is trip into your memories with your spirit guide help. It is not astral traveling, it is not out-of-body experience. Those things I mention now, we do experience, whether we do remember it or not, when we sleep at night. But during regression, our goal is different. Connecting to information guide wants to give you doesn't require from you recall childhood memories or anything like that. Technique to enter past life is very pleasant and relaxed. It's not recommendable use childhood memories because some people have challenging experience as a child and traumas. 5. Many things are important for a successful regression. But one you really need to remember is to interrupt me and tell me every time you see, sense, or feel anything. In great percentage of the cases, people don't need to hear full induction procedure. They already pick up bits of information. How does that happen? You start feel emotion that wasn't there just a second ago, or you see image passing quickly, or just receive inner feeling you are standing on a green grass. You need to observe yourself and be attentive to what feelings and sensations you get. This is the way to make connection to those at first ordinary and simple images or sensations coming from your spirit guide, who is helping you to tune in that memory of the past life he already selected for you. Be aware, things you may perceive at first may be too strange, too common, insignificant according to your logical mind, or even very crazy and fantastic. But nevertheless, don't keep any information, share everything. Imagine your guide standing by your side and acting like a catalyst, magnetizing you to tune in to this wave of energy that is in the memory you need to see. In beginning, you will see very simple things, like a stone, a grass, a color, or receive simple sensation, emotion, or you can even see a scene from a movie you saw yesterday. This is not a problem. Don't panic and tell me. It doesn't mean that you had life exactly like in the movie you watched. It means that your spirit guide is using your brain and database stored there to pick up something for a starting point. That is how we should regard those images or scenes you recognize from movies or books you read, nothing more. We will focus and try see them in details, and you will see how with first image or first sensation you feel, connection is established and stress levels in your body will reduce. It is very normal for you to be a little worried and stressed because every person wishes to have a successful regression and we are afraid if we're gonna see anything at all. When you see image pass quickly and you can't even catch what it is, don't worry, tell me. I will help you get this memory back and look more careful what it presents. When we focus to observe something, the very description of boring details will relax you even more. And then, at one moment behind this ordinary piece of rock or grass you saw at first, and after we looked at it carefully, you will be given full landscape unexpectedly. This is because you are calmer and information comes one after the other like pieces of a chain. If you remain silent about anything you see and wait me finish talking the induction procedure, you will forget what you perceived by the time I finish with text I am reading to you. That is why interrupt me without hesitation. 6. In past life regression, we do have censure of information that your spirit guide allows you to see and feel. Guide knows what your deeper needs are, what type of trials you pass now, and he or she, depending if it's male or female spirit, will select for you what is most appropriate for you to see, to help you, to guide you, to teach you about the change you may need to do in your current life situation, or the traits in the character you may need to realize and work on. 7. It is not very often, but sometimes I meet people who are scared what they might see in past lives. Usually guides show two types of past lives. First type are those lives that encourage us and show us what we were capable to achieve in past and often in much worse circumstances than current life. We often may see such strength in the personality we had in past that we are surprised. It really helps us to reevaluate our current life situation from a different perspective and believe stronger in our own abilities, because the experience we gain during those past lives we can use now. It's our own achievement. We just need to believe it and count more on our inner strength. Second type of lives we may see are those where we had some tasks planned, some work to do in life, and often we deviated from our plan and we failed at the end. Sometimes it's bad trait in the character or a weakness that we gave ourselves in and forgot the real path of our soul on earth. It is high possibility that this trait in character is transferred to the personality we have now in current life. It is very valuable to see such life because it helps us remove weaknesses we have now if we really want to remove them and not let the past influence us. We only need to recognize that weakness or characteristics as something that belongs to this past self and stop thinking it represents who we really are. We did pay the price for this mistake already after that past life when our spirit realized the potential it had at hand and the way it ruined that opportunity. Sometimes we have like echo from past life because we need to finish a task to remove weakness to complete a mission that started in a past life. 8. How can I be sure if it's not my imagination? That question may start to bother you before or even during the regression. But if you want a successful regression, leave this thought aside and wait until we put the whole puzzle together. When you follow the rule, tell first thing you perceive, you won't have problems. To be able to invent things and tell story from imagination, we need to have time to think it first, to make all necessary connections. When you speak what you get spontaneously, there is no time for your mind to interrupt. And that's what we need. Halfway of the description of the first past life, you will get some confirmations. It can't be imagination because you will see logical explanations related to your current issues. By the end of the regression, they will be even more in number. Other way to confirm that we do see really lives related to ourselves is when we feel emotional about even a very common image. It can be a simple house or a nice place in nature that we somehow recognize with our heart or a person we met in that life. But emotion can help us only when personage we had in past, this past self, was emotional person. If he or she has been cold tempered and not showing feelings, we may not get emotions just because of his or her specific character and nature. The best confirmation for past life regression, if it is real, comes after some time. That is when your life continues, and at one moment, months after we have done regression, you start seeing elements from that session starting to come to your life, or spirit guide advices that now sound very different to you compared to the interpretation we gave them in the day of the past life regression. It confirms that what we did wasn't imaginary, but on the contrary, we had support by a real developed being, your spirit guide, who already knew what was coming in your life and gave advices regarding your future situations. Guides are very delicate. They will never allow themselves infringe your free choice by telling things you have not earned yet to know. Everything else that your spirit has merits to learn, you will learn. I've had already cases when guide tells future information, but those were people who had already done their homework, figuratively speaking, so it's not disturbing their free choice. 9. There is no danger in regression. The only problem is when practitioner who leads the session hurry too much and leave things unexplained and misunderstood. Client may derive very wrong conclusions from work done only halfway. For example, I had a young couple years ago who were following online what I published, and one day they decided to do regression by themselves. The girl was leading the boy. She was able to help him see past life, but problem appeared when he saw his face in the newspaper accused in setting fire on a house where some people died. Also, on top of that, he saw himself running on a street, and it seemed as if he was trying to catch one small girl, daughter of the people who died in the fire. Both got scared by what he described, and girl, instead of investigating the life until end, she took him out of regression. That is the mistake. I may say it's very wrong to do, but of course they were not experienced. What we do in such situations? we need proceed investigate life and see how this man in this life feels. Does he feel guilty? What relationship he had with the family who died before the accident? It was very strange that he was running on the street during daylight, knowing that his face is on the newspaper. No criminal does that, only person who is innocent and who really wish to explain something to the daughter of the dead people. Even when the case concerned real crime, you need to understand that we must not hurry to judge. We need try see that past life until end, until deathbed of this person, and see how he feels about the crime, see if he feels remorse or anything like that, and after we can see how the spirit after death in this past life feels about the incarnation. It is very precious moment. 10. The last day of the past life and talking to the spirit of the past self after that past life. While we look past lives, we skip periods, jump forward or back according to the needs while trying to make sense what type of life our past self had and what was the family, the circle, the profession, love, trials. This way we reach last day in the physical body in the past life. It is very important source of information because it gives us idea if that person felt okay about life he had or felt sorry for some things he had done or he couldn't manage to do yet. Also, we will feel if he feels some disbalanced emotion like strong guilt or feeling of failure or sadness or anger. It can be everything. Sometimes those emotions are temporary, but sometimes guides show us how after the death the spirit of the person still carry in him or her such strong emotion that disturb him. When we go to this moment after death to check how is the spirit feeling and if we notice any negative thinking or emotion we can help, there is a thing that we can do to heal, explaining the situation from a higher spiritual perspective, adding information about reincarnation and the mercy God has for us, helps to change the mind of those past aspects of ourselves and help them forgive and let go, forgive to themselves, forgive to somebody else who had harmed them, or stop feeling guilt for something beyond their control. Often those past negative emotions had already been influencing us in our current life without we ever realize why we feel such deep guilt without reason, sometimes since we are young children, or in another case could be a memory of a past life failure and deviation from the plan that our spirit wasn't able to let go and forgive, and now we unconsciously torture ourselves and put more and more pressure, more tasks, pursuing of goals, and no matter successes we achieve, we still feel discontent. I had few cases with last example I described, and people had even panic attacks because of that. 11. Are there any negative sensations during regression? Curious phenomena I found with practice already 11 years. When we see, although it happens so very rare nowadays, but when we do see battle or war or anything like that, we don't experience same emotions or sensations as would be if this was happening in our current life. We feel somehow detached from what we see. We see it as if we don't care so much, like it's happening to somebody else. But when guides show us that our past self had felt regrets or guilt or anger on deathbed or after as a spirit in the spirit world, we do feel this, and it is part of the healing process of the past. It is very important to realize what we've been through, why we got there, and what was the mistake in reality. If we were naive or gave in to a weakness and it ruined our life or whatever, problem is not in fact that we done mistakes in past. Problem is when we don't want to see and don't want to learn from them. Past life regression is a powerful tool to work on character and get motivation to not let yourself again in same situation, to fail in the plan your soul has prepared before being reborn because of some weakness. It is very useful for us to investigate what was soul's plan when we speak to the spirit of the personage in that past life and ask what were the main tasks or experiences he had planned to go through, and if he sees those successfully fulfilled or not, what helped him succeed, what made him fail, and the question very relevant to you, has any task from the past life has been transferred for you to complete now. 12. Meeting the spirit guide and asking your current life questions is the last part of the regression. We need make clear that your spirit guide is helping you since the start of the session, actually much earlier, because often people report how while they were writing the list of the questions I asked them to prepare, they started receiving intuition about the answers weeks before we meet to do the actual regression. That is so because spirit guides use every opportunity to help us. Problem is, we don't really remember often to stop a little and reflect on real things in life and give a chance to our spirit guide send us some signs and advices. Also, for me, it's curious phenomena that sometimes I have dreamed before regression and it turns out to show how the work with client will develop, as though we've been working on the process since earlier during the night. Dreams don't come before each and every regression. I guess there is special cases where more help from spirit world is applied, but it is something that really proved for me the interference of the developed spirits into the process and directing it to be successful. That is why our responsibility is even greater to not lose this special chance to get better and do the best of our life now. It is not hard to meet your spirit guide. You only need keep in mind it's spirit more developed than yourself, but who also had incarnations in a body, who took charge of advising you in your current incarnation. Often they come as people. We see image of a person. Other times could be only as a silhouette, as a figure made of light or anything else. Also sometimes the guide may not have image, but you can feel him as a presence. Communication is established same way as before during describing the past lives. You most probably won't hear any voice, but you will anyway feel the answer, like intuitive idea that comes to you, or energy you feel in yourself, and you will need few seconds to feel it completely and describe in words what it's like. Sometimes guide gives you words in your mind and make you start saying them before I even finish asking the question. This proves we three, me, client and the guide, are all interconnected and we do have communication on spiritual level. We don't know which questions guide will answer and if any of them will be left aside. We can only count on that the guide is a developed spirit and he knows what is allowed to reveal and what is too early to share yet, but there is no problem when we ask. We don't have his knowledge, so we can ask many questions. He will discern what he can advise us and what not, to avoid infringing our free choice and advancement. When we speak to the guide, he can open for us more past lives to see, if it's needed. During this last stage of regression, sometimes we get visits by beloved spirits of people we loved in life and who are already in the spirit world. It is a spontaneous event and there is nothing to be scared of. They show often as people, but younger and healthier than we remember them. When they come, it might be because they won't give us advice, to tell us they're feeling fine and we must stop worry and feel such deep sorrow for their loss. That is very important. Our grief can disturb them a lot. We need understand we do have a task here, same as they have tasks in the spiritual world. So we need to learn to be patient, pray for them, love them, and focus on the task our soul came on earth for. We do have obligations in front of God, and we cannot refuse to live only because very beloved person died and we don't have him beside us. It would mean to make a step back and turn our back to God. None of our dead relatives would wish we do that. They already see the big picture of life and death and meaning of incarnations on earth. Sometimes people ask if a past life regression could guarantee them to see a beloved deceased person. No, the answer is no, because it's not up to us to determine that. We can try and ask the guide a question about our dead relative and ask about the relationship with them or what was the reason for them to leave Earth too early in life, if that was the case. But few things can happen when we ask. The guide can answer with some short explanation, or he can give us calming information that our relative is okay. Or in some cases, the guide can just keep silence and you can feel how serious his energy has become. Even with his silence and change of energy, the guide is showing us the answer. Most probably the spirit we are inquiring about is not in a very high spiritual levels and can't be contacted now. Often this is the case when after the death the spirit goes to a lower spiritual zone as a consequence of the life he had and the karmic debt he accumulated during the last incarnation. The law of attraction works. We feel magnetically attracted to the zones that correspond to the type of energy we carry in our soul. If it's more low vibration, it's logical that we will be attracted to spiritual colonies corresponding to the same vibration and meet other spirits who are just the same like us. If you are curious to learn more about the spirit world and interaction between spirits and humanity, there is a wonderful source of information. The authors, Allan Kardec and Chico Xavier, and all their books are really worth to read and reflect on the information given. Chico Xavier is a Brazilian medium, a real phenomenon in the world who left more than 400 psychographed books. Allan Kardec is the codifier of Spiritism who during 19th century wrote books also using enormous research and mediums from all over the world, and any self-respecting spirituality explorer of the most important questions of life, death, and the path of our spirit through consecutive incarnations should read. Be aware that with opening your mind to more and more points of view and information, each time you do regressions, you will perceive much clearer information because your spirit guide will be able to work easier overcoming obstacles and barriers in your own belief system.